welcome to another SLP Town Hall Tuesday. I'm your host, Mondi Lewis. Before I introduce my guest this evening, I know we're all aware of this weekend's gruesome homicides. A lot of families are grieving, a lot of friends are grieving, communities are grieving. And although most of us would have seen the headlines, very few of us know their names. And this evening, I just wanted to
Invading the Central Labour Party, this is a challenge, a huge challenge for us, and we have to put it higher on our agenda. We have to put it higher on our agenda.
Indeed, Sister Emma, and I know some artist staff doing a rallying call, live up and stop the violence, and I think it's commendable, and I know they have been in discussion with the leader of the opposition, Honorable Philip JPS, so I know it is something that will come out of our party also to take a stance against the violence in our communities, in our country. So, I always call you honorable. I think that's who you are. So you are an honorable woman. But again, as I was saying in your intro, you're no stranger to the politics. You ran the Grizzly seat, you were an MP, but even before that, St. Lucians knew you, I mean, a formidable businesswoman, just, what we would say as goals from as a young woman. But tell us something that we don't know about Emma Hippolyte.
Okay, so before I get into that, because the time goes quickly, I want to greet my people.
Indeed.
Let us greet our people. I want to say good evening to the people of Suffrage constituency. I want to say good evening to all of St. Lucia, those who are in St. Lucia and out of St. Lucia. We have a beautiful country, people, and at the moment, what is happening to our country, what is happening to us is not a good reflection of who we are. So we have work to do. Secondly, I want to thank Mondi to allow me to be on this program this evening. I want to thank you, Mondi, for the opportunity to have a conversation with my people in Suffrage for Sheshak and to have a conversation with St. Lucia. When we look at what is happening around us, even before that, I want to do some shout outs because by the time we get into that program, we won't get there. I've had an earlier program this evening on our Let's Connect, but I want to repeat it here because we have a different audience. I want to express condolences to the relatives of Mr. Brother Lambert George, better known as Mr. Dick of Fosheshak, Belvedere Fosheshak. Mr. Dick was a solid soldier of the St. Lucia Labour Party. And we are going to have the funeral of Mr. George this Thursday at the Fosheshak Church. I also want to express condolences to the family of Sister Leah Nicholas, another strong soldier of ours and a volunteer in our office. And as somebody said earlier today, we are really missing her bakes and how she fed us every day. She was just a loyal soldier to us. And again, this evening, I want to express my deepest condolences to her children, her siblings, her parents, her mom, and to say she is locked in our hearts. We also want to express condolences to the relatives of another strong soldier of ours, Brother Alexander Lansico, who passed away just over a week ago. Brother Lansico served the St. Lucia Labour Party, the Suffrage branch, in a very committed way. We do not have a date for his funeral, but we would like all Labour soldiers to turn out for all of these funerals when we have a date. I want to thank the various family members for sharing their loved ones with us. For the community of Bhutan, I also want to express condolences to the Ogis family on the passing of Douglas Ogis. I also want to salute a few communities today. And the communities of Barons Drive, they are always red and ready. So I know we have a good following us at Timam's Bar, at Ava's Bar, at Aquinas, Alvin's Bar, Harmony's Bar. And I want to say a big thank you again to the man Yellow and his crew who assisted us with preparing the fads of the fishers. And as I said so, I want to also express my heartfelt thanks to Captain Lolo for using his boat for this fad, and also to Brother Abraham for allowing us to use the services of his truck. We hail the community of Pont Saint-Jacques and thank our people there for their sterling support. Pont Saint-Jacques is solid SLP. And I want to thank the young men of Mini, Belvedere Lakuan, for the commitment to the St. Lucia Labour Party. And now we welcome the young men of Esperas to the group. We hail the communities of Chateau Bel Air, Myers Bridge, Etangs, Belfont, Boisden, Sulphur Spring, Mont Lacroix, and Fontainebleau. We thank our supporters from Faubernier, Palmis, Wingsville, New Development, Zeno, Diamond, Crestland, Colombet. Without you, we would not have a St. Lucia Labour Party in Suffrage. So you are the most important asset of the St. Lucia Labour Party, and we are there to serve you. We also salute our youth group, headed by Brother Nimaya Saint-Jean. We salute our women's group, headed by Sister Bofa Prosper. We want to also thank the executive of the Suffrage SLP group, with the team leaders of Brother Sambuji and Brother Charles Albert. We also hail Sister Nancy Nicholas, listening in Antigua and Barbuda. Team member is all-inclusive, and there is room for all. We have I want to hail two ill soldiers today, our Sister Georgiana Modi Nicholas in Myers Bridge and Brother Jonathan Abraham in Myers Bridge. With these few words, Monday, I think I'm ready to be with you. I had to deal with my people first.
Very nice, and I commend that. A lot of people say that I don't do many shout outs, so thank you for doing that for me this evening.
Yes.
But we have to go to our first break, but when we come back, we'll start the
Oh,
discussion. Welcome back to SLP Town Hall Tuesday. I'm your host, Mondi Lewis, and again, I have with me the endorsed candidate for Suffrage Jacques, Miss Emma Hippolyte. So, Miss Hippolyte, my first question to you again was, to tell us something that we don't know about Emma Hippolyte.
Something that you do not know. But what it is that I would like to share, I don't know, I think I have a passion for cooking, and I want to make some time to really pay attention to this art.
Okay.
I can cook, but I believe I want to take some time to really get into the deeper aspects of cooking. So,
well, I actually didn't know that, and I've
putting
known you for a
politics
lot of
aside,
years.
yeah.
I said I actually didn't know that, and I know you for a couple of years, so I can be your
Yes, putting
taster.
politics aside, yes. I would want to spend a lot more time. So I'm collecting a lot of recipes and things like that, but I really need time to just sit and try them out.
Well, it wouldn't be the next 5 years, so I'm sorry. So we'll have another extensive, we'll have a very extensive list after that. So, but we'll
Okay,
find some time. But
we'll
Emma,
find something.
we we saw you in grocery. We saw, and I tell people that I don't know anyone who works harder than you do. I mean, the days by the mall, literally, you park at 7 o'clock, and you come back at 7 o'clock in the evening. And I know I seen you in Barron's Drive last week. I mean, the people love you. I mean, I saw the distress. I heard the anxieties, but there's also love and there's also hope. And I'm really
Mhm.
looking forward to your representation for Suffrage Forces Jack, especially the people at Barron's Drive, because I met some wonderful people. But what were the major issues? What are the major issues you see coming out of Suffrage Forces Jack, especially in a COVID-19 period?
Ooh. For young persons, the key thing is high unemployment. I mean, every part of St. Lucia, I would think. To me, the number one issue is the unemployment. It's in all sectors, the young, the women, the men, but the young people, it is particularly frustrating for them because they want to be able to dress well, they want to be able to go out with their girlfriends, especially the young men. The mothers need to feed their children, and that is just a source of frustration when you speak to our young people, the high unemployment. Um, there is, to me as well, when I look at it, there's a bit of social decay in terms of persons not respecting self, not respecting each other. And what you rightly said was this absence of hope. And the challenge for us is the challenge for me as a senior in the community is how do I engage on a daily basis the young people and to give them hope? Because my concern, and I addressed a group of young people on Friday, and that's what I was telling them, that when I engage them individually, intelligent young men, intelligent young women, and to tell them that it is important for them to be part of the decision-making process of this country. A lot of them are frustrated, and a lot of them do not have the hope, and they say, well, why do I get involved in this? There's nothing there for me. They cannot connect the role of government, they cannot connect the politics and persons representing them and persons having the responsibility to ensure that there is an environment, an economic and social environment that is uplifting to our young people and to the citizenry in general. And because this United Workers' Party government have caused such despair among our people, you speak to the young people, and it is taking you a lot of effort to get them to understand that there can be a better tomorrow. And we need to put that message together, and we need to commit. We need to know that by offering ourselves to the people of St. Lucia as policymakers, as persons in government, to work with them and shape policies, that we must have a genuine love for the people. We must have a genuine interest in improving the lives of the people. And to me, that is some of the things that we really have to look at. And to how do we cause, even to cause the young people to be in a space that you can engage them is a challenge. So Friday, I had an opportunity where I was invited, and I spoke to them for a short while because but to cause that conversation, to start that conversation, that there can be tomorrow can be better than today. That is a big challenge, but I am very hopeful that if the men and women, the cadre of men and women sitting at the table of the St. Lucia Labour Party, and we are committed to ensuring that as we offer ourselves to the general public, that we have to give our all to make it a better tomorrow for the people of St. Lucia. We must put them first.
But you have, I know you interact a lot with young people, but I've also seen some interaction, and I know that you are a farmer, so you understand
Yes.
also the plight of persons in that industry. What has been that experience, especially in your area?
Well, the farming community has really been dealt a very hard blow. Um, Before COVID and after COVID, COVID has made it worse because with COVID, the farmers continue to have the same difficult task of producing. They do not have, then the people do not have the purchasing power to purchase what they produce. And then with an absence of a tourism market, where the hotels would purchase some items. And also with COVID, even what is being sold at Massy, the prices have dropped significantly. I can remember, for example, you could sell a kilo of dasheen for, I think it was 250. And when I checked, that dropped to about $1. Now that is below the production cost. So the farmer has to work doubly hard. There is no revenue coming in because they cannot sell their produce. Whatever is being produced, because it is a perishable item and they do not have a market for it, they end up having to give it or sell it at almost nothing. And then there is no support. There was no support coming in from the government. So there you have it. They needed help. They needed help for things like basic input. Because, for example, I had to double in when I sort of started conversing with our farmers and at least help with 200 bags of fertilizer. And as I walked through Foshajak on Sunday, I mean, the request for fertilizer is definite. The request for help is definite. But one thing I must say, our farming community is a resilient group. And I ask them to just be a little more patient. If a St. Lucia Labour Party coming into office, the support that is needed, we will attempt to do so as much as possible. Because you may recall that when the St. Lucia Labour Party was in office, even before COVID, we assisted the farmers. Well, you had Brother Musa assisting and coming and working very hard with the Black Sikatoka problem in bananas. We had government assisting with labor on the farm by paying persons to come in to work on the farms. And that is a very high cost for any farmer. When I look now at what are the needs of the farmer, we have been, this year has not been too bad in terms of the weather conditions, but generally in order to get farmers with high production and so on, you need supportive irrigation. When I have the conversation I had with the young farmers in Foshajak, they need access to more farming land, for example. And that would require us having to open some roads in areas like River Dore, for example, because we have learned that there's maybe over 100 acres of farmland, but access, you need a road access to bring the material in and to get the produce out. So I am saying to the farmers of Foshajak and the farmers of Soufre in general, Chateau Bel Air, Myers Bridge, that the St. Lucia Labour Party understands your problem and we will work with you to see how we can make your life easier. A key area for the farmers as well is access to export market. And I could remember very clearly when we were in office, at least visiting the United States of America. And there was a ready market for St. Lucian breadfruit in New Jersey, in Connecticut, in New York. So we have to pay attention to things like post-harvesting and packaging and shipping for a basic item as breadfruit. So there is hope for the farmers. There is hope. We have to look at our food import bill and see what it is we can, the current administration have been talking about identifying certain products, certain items, food items to produce so that we can reduce the food import bill. But up to now, these programs have not gotten off the ground in any meaningful way. So
Thank you
our
for that.
farmers requires help.
Thank you for that, Sister Emma. But we're due for another break. These breaks are coming fast and furious, and we have so much to discuss. But St. Lucia, please stay tuned. This is SLP Town Hall Tuesday.
C'est Emma, nous voulons because Emma can aider. It's Emma, we want because Emma is the one we voted. Anti-Emma, Balmis people, anti-Emma. For Benye, anti-Emma. Barons Drive, anti-Emma. Bucket Road, anti-Emma. New development, anti-Emma. Zeno Masse, anti-Emma. Possession, anti-Emma. Chateau Bel Air, anti-Emma. Bon Lacroix, anti-Emma. Pocheli, anti-Emma. Eaton's Massive, anti-Emma.
Welcome back, St. Lucia. And again, we see Emma Hippolyte doing a lot of intervention in the constituency that she's vying for. You almost believe that she's the MP, but I think it is a recognition of the needs of the people. And we also saw a very big show put on Leve, and she's had 2 of these installments. So, Sister Emma, could you speak to us about your charity work that you have done, and I know raised a lot of money for single mothers, and then you did a second edition for young men?
Yes, Mondi. And again, it's going around the community, seeing the needs of the people. But the first telephone came about just after COVID. You may recall that it was in April last year that we had COVID started, I think, in March. Then in April we got this message. I got a message. I was in my kitchen doing my breakfast, and I just got a message. You're having your breakfast, but there are so many people who do not have breakfast, and I interpreted that to mean I had to do something about it. So I called. I interpreted that I had to do something about it. I called a musician from Soufre. I discussed it. Anyway, the long and short of it is I called Boo. Within 2 weeks, using my experience with telephones before, but doing a virtual telephone, I'd never done anything virtual because the other telephones I was involved in was always with mass crowd and everything like that. So I was a little bit, yes. So so what I did was to get the technical support, and I really want to say a big thank you to MBC and Dr. McDowell, because I called him, and with just one call, he said, "That's fine." He gave me the name of one of the staff members to work with. I think it was Trevor, and the rest is history. With call the artists together. We call the young boys from Soufre, the kids on the block from Fonchajak, call around, and serious artists around St. Lucia. I call them, and they all perform without us having to pay them a cent. So I also want to recognize the contribution of our artists. I know it is also very difficult times for them, but they have always answered when we call. And the first telephone, we focused on single mothers because some of them were working in the industry that were affected, others were not working, but relying on people in the industry. And what we did was we had this virtual telephone. Persons contributed throughout the country. The day of the telephone, we had pledges of up to $56,000. And our aim was $50,000. We said if we raise $50,000, we think we could have fed those mothers for 3 months. But it was a different story. We got a pledge of $56,000 the day of the telephone. Within the month after that, we collected $110,000. And we started the distribution. The first round, we distributed vouchers of $65,000 plus hampers because some persons contributed in kind. So we put that together and we gave a small hamper and the $100 vouchers. And then we did a second round again. So in total, we touched the lives of 1,200 mothers and 2,400 children. So I was eternally grateful for that. And when we did that, the young men started complaining that I was paying attention to the ladies and not paying attention to them. So earlier this year, we decided for, I think it was Valentine's Day, we had a telephone again after a difficult period because it was after a year of COVID, but we raised some $30,000 to help the young men of the community. And that is what we have done. We still have a few vouchers left to target a few groups, but we were able to raise $30,000 and we used that and distributed it to the young men of the constituency. So again, I want to thank the artists, I want to thank MBC, and I want to thank all those who made a donation. Some persons who have pledged have still not made do on that pledge, so I'm using this moment this evening to remind them that the vouchers expires in June, so you still have a few more weeks to make good on your pledge. So St. Lucia, what I want to reflect, Monday, is as persons who can make a difference, when we can, we should just get up and act. Don't talk about it. If you see somebody in need, get up and do what it is you have to do to make the lives of the people around us better. And that is why I'm offering myself to the people of Suffrage. I believe I can improve, I can work with them to improve the lives of our young people in particular and the entire citizenry. So I'm asking the people of Suffrage to work with me, and I'm showing them some of the things that I can do and some of the things that we can do together to improve the lives of the people of Suffrage and by extension, St. Lucia.
I have some questions for you that we got from persons in your constituency. So, and it is a town hall. So let's get the first question.
The Suffrage Foundation seems to be the ATM for the UWPs in Suffrage. How will Miss Hippolyte correct the corruption taking place in the Suffrage Foundation?
Did you get that question?
Okay, so that was, yes, that's a question about the Suffrage Foundation and the challenges that it poses for Suffrage. I think even earlier this evening on our Let's Connect program, we had a gentleman who was a past chairperson of the Suffrage Foundation, and he lamented the fact that whatever resources that was left, and if I could remember, he said the SLP administration left while we were in office $1.8 million in cash and $1 million in receivable in the Suffrage Foundation. Now we are told that the Suffrage Foundation is cash strapped. That's what we are told. We hear a lot of corruption. We hear a lot of staff members receiving loans, loans being written off. Persons are using, the government is using the foundation to, as the young lady said, as an ATM, doing things that government should be doing. How are we going to change that? The Suffrage Foundation was put together for the people of Suffrage. It is managing the assets that's owned by the people of Suffrage. It's managing the resources from the pitons, it's managing the resources from the harbor, it is managing the resources from the sulfur springs. And what you need, it is a very important institution for the development of the people of Suffrage. And consequently, you need strong management and good governance in the foundation. Coming in as a parliamentary rep, there should be zero tolerance for fraud and corruption, not only in the Suffrage Foundation, but throughout the governance structures, the various structures and institutions in our country. It is only when we eradicate the issue of corruption that we will start seeing growth, because it is that corruption that has permeated our Prime Minister by his own lack of attention to good governance, have caused corruption to take root in central government, in the Suffrage Foundation, and everywhere else. Now, the Suffrage Foundation is owned by the people of Suffrage. The resources belong to the people of Suffrage. So the first point is to have a zero tolerance of fraud and corruption. Secondly, is to have a board for the foundation that is representative of the stakeholders in Suffrage, the young people, the various communities, Fonche-Jacques, Fonche-Libre, Suffrage Town, mothers, fishers, farmers, minibus drivers, taxi operators. And that is how I believe we will have a structure that is representative of the people and putting people that understand management and governance. Because if you're going to put somebody to manage that institution, because it is managing money, you need to put people who understand that in there. You need to have management that have to understand ethical standards and values. You have to be able to hold both management and board accountable. You need to be able to have policies to say, how are we going to use the excess revenue generated at the foundation? How are we going to, what portion of it will go towards education? What portion to health? What portion towards the elderly? And we need to address that. What reserves are we going to put in place in case you have a disaster on our hands? These are the things that we need to address. And this is how I see us transforming that foundation. But I want the people in the foundation to understand that when Emma Hippolyte will become the parliamentary rep for Suffrage, persons who have used the resources of the foundation will be held accountable. We will definitely have, there will be no witch hunt, but there will be a proper audit of what has transpired. And if people had loans in the foundation, then they will have to pay for it. They will have to repay it. They will have to repay it. We are going to hold them accountable. And the board that we are going to put in, we are going to hold that new board accountable as well. And this, not only are we going to hold them accountable, but they will be required to report periodically through Parliament and to the people of Suffrage, so that they can say how they're managing the resources, what plans they have for Suffrage, and things like that. It is a serious institution for Suffrage, and we must cause it to serve the people of Suffrage in a much better way than it is being done at the moment.
Thank you, Ms. Hippolyte. And A lot of people have been put on notice this evening, but we have to take another break, and we'll be right back with SLP Town Hall Tuesday.
When elections is coming, Suffrage, make sure you get it right. We voting for Emma and we putting the flowers out. Cause live in Puti Mama, yeah, from Tipatavaya. And live in Pumale, we say Emma, you play. We voting anti-Emma. Balmis people, anti-Emma. Porbenye, anti-Emma. Barons Drive, anti-Emma. Bucket Road, anti-Emma. New Development, anti-Emma. Zeno Masse, anti-Emma. Possession, anti-Emma. Chateau Bel Air, anti-Emma. Bonacqua, anti-Emma. Pocheli, anti-Emma. Eaton's Massive, anti-Emma. Souf.
Ms. Hippolyte, you said, sometimes it's hard for you to get the youth, but I see they're really engaging you, embracing you. That song have a real vibe. Very nice. Very nice. And I know you had a very big line, probably before COVID, on your farm, and that was it was overwhelming, the love, the support from these young people. So I think just keep doing what you're doing, and we'll have Suffrage for Jacques in the bag.
All right, thanks.
Yes. But we have some other questions for you, so we'll go right into that.
My son is a boat boy. He sits at Barron Drive as Mr. Shasney's boat makes trips with visitors without masks. Why he cannot work? How are you going to ensure that we get part of the tourism money?
That's an interesting observation. Yes, and it's a challenge. And sometimes when we don't understand what we do when we don't set the right example, as I said, because right now there is COVID. The boat boys in Barron's Drive, they do not have a license. They are not allowed to operate. Yet they are able, and I had one experience like this when I was walking through Barron's Drive one day, and the boys came complaining to me. They're sitting on the stones, they are watching, Mr. Shasney's boat has arrived, there are visitors there without masks, it is COVID times. Mr. Shasney, as far as they can see, Mr. Shasney is making money, COVID is not impacting him, but COVID is impacting the young boys out there. And there is no provision by the government, no provision at all to assist these young boys because they have lost their income. Maybe they were not contributing to the NIC, so they just fell through the cracks. Now, how are we going to ensure that the tourism industry that we have is one that whatever work we get trickles down, that it does not go to just one huge operator. And that is fundamental for me in terms of one of the transformations that I want to do as your PAL rep. The tourism industry in Soufrière is important. It is the lead industry. It is the main industry. Now I want to transform that into being the lead industry and supported by sports, by entertainment and agriculture. But how are we going to transform that tourism industry? I want it to be transformed by sitting with the key players, because at the moment, you have the agents. They come in castries, they make their arrangements before, they bring the people down to the hotels, they go to a certain destination and they go back. The tourism dollar does not trickle down to the vendors. Doesn't trickle down to the small business person on the road. So how are we going to change that? We can only change that by sitting with the main operators now and saying, hello, we need to change this peacefully. The shops at Barron's Drive, the shops, the farmers at Fort Saint-Jacques, the small trails, all needs to get a piece of the pie. And one of the things we'll be doing is to put a general marketing platform that is going to cause equal access to all the products that we have in Soufrière. If we have an open IT platform. Every person with a tourism product could place it on that platform. So the visitor, long before coming to St. Lucia or visiting Soufre, would have access to all the services. So you are making this as equitable as possible. How are we going to change what is happening with the boat boys? We need to ensure they get the license. We will ensure they get the license. We will ensure that we assist them through the youth economy that the political leader has spoken about to help them get their boats, to give them a license to ensure they have proper insurance, that they get the insurance renewed, that they get whatever license renewed every year, and that they get the business like everybody else. That they, whether we register them as a cooperative or individually, but the government through the youth economy will ensure that the boat boys in Barons Drive will have access to proper business, have the capital and loans that they require so that they can run their businesses. And when we transform that tourism industry, that they will find a place at the table. That it is not just Mr. Shastney's boat that is going to operate, but they will have the same rights. And that is where the St. Lucia Labour Party will be putting the people of St. Lucia first.
You know, and I like that you say that people, I mean, the boat boys, they can see this happening in the constituency, that people are coming in and making money. And we often talk about the two St. Lucias, but these are very glaring examples of how St. Lucians cannot benefit, how people who live in the constituency cannot benefit from.
Cannot benefit.
So again, and we saw it on the weekend with your opponent literally having his big lime and lots of people masked out. And I recall the month or two ago, there was a real crackdown in Barons Drive. So you're wondering that, you know, how is the law being meted out to persons in the constituency? And these are the things that cause the dissent and mistrust of our police officers and our systems. But you were speaking about plans, and I know you have the 10-point plan, and you spoke one about transforming the tourism industry so that everyone can have a piece of the pie. What else is part of the plan for that transformation of Soufre Fossey Jacques?
Okay, so we've spoken about the tourism industry. The other we've spoken about is the Soufre Foundation, that we cannot move forward without transforming that, and I've spoken about that. The other plan that we have is the whole issue of empowering our young people. We cannot move forward unless we empower and educate our young people. And not only empower and educate, but to put a structure in place so that they are part of the decision-making process. When you speak to our young people, they do not want persons to make decisions for them. They want to be part of that decision-making process. But you need a structure for that to happen. So definitely, being the parliamentary rep for Soufre, for Sheshak, I will put a structure in place where I engage our young people, not only our young people, but the citizens of Soufre, but particularly our young people, to engage them that they are part of the decision-making process. That is fundamental. Encourage entrepreneurship and small business. When you look at what is happening now, we have small businesses there, we have some young ladies, we have persons plying a trade, but again, if the youth economy and putting a fund together through education, holding the hands of our young people and our women, strengthening small business, because it is through entrepreneurship that we will encourage our young people and show them how to have proper business and that they can survive with being business owners for themselves, allowing them to make money for themselves. Another part of our plan is the whole issue of effective community primary and secondary health services. At the moment, we have the hospital providing some services, but the physical structure of that hospital, proper equipment, and the right staffing is what is so fundamental for us. So healthcare, over the weekend, as I walk around for Sheshat, persons who are sick, elderly, do not have the monies to see the doctor, and they are there. But these are our citizens. They have contributed to bringing our country where it is. And now they have a right to receive some basic health care from us. The Social Labour Party within itself have provided a commitment for universal health care. But Soufre, we need to look at both our primary and secondary health and see how best we can send our nurses and doctors in to visit some of our elderly without them having, so that they are not ignored because they do not have the funds. I think this is important. The other part of our program is actually greening, ensuring that Soufre becomes the green capital of the Caribbean. And one of the fundamental ways that we have looked at it is to use the sun as part of that energy program. When we see what has happened in other countries, I know before we have tried to use geothermal, it is very costly, but we have the sun day in, day out, and the technology is there. So we can use that energy to replace part of the Lucilec energy. So we are going to cause that to happen. We are going to cause a new industry, get our young people employed in terms of that new industry, using the savings. Households can use the savings from that Lucilec bill to do other things. Manufacturers can also benefit from that lower cost of energy. Looking at the area, the next program is Energizing and Modernizing Agriculture. When we started talking about that, new technology, new markets, and doing a lot more value added. That is so important for us. We must do that. Looking at our fisheries, for example, how do we cause our young people to look at fishing going forward? Because now when you look at our fishermen, they are middle-aged persons, and you have to start thinking of how we're going to continue fishing. And new technology and causing our young people to have modern boats, modern technology, bringing them into cooperatives, ensuring that part of that cooperative money is used as a small pension for the elderly farmers, elderly fishers who would not have a pension at that time. So looking at continuity, you're looking at modernization, you're looking at young people coming in. So that is what we want to do with fishing and agriculture. Again, one of the last things we want to add to that is how do we deal with the decay in the society? How do we use our young people now in terms of a volunteer corps? How do we pay them to come in, to provide voluntary service, to learn a skill, and turn their lives around? How do we give them credit for the number of volunteer hours that they give, and how they can use this credit to use as work experience when they apply for a job? I think that is important. We need to cause our young people to want to give to volunteer. We need to give them an incentive to volunteer, and I think the incentive is put a minimum number of hours, decide whether you're going to deal in the environment, whether you're going to plant trees, whether you're going to clean the place, whether you're going to help our elderly, whatever area that you're going to get into. You put those services in there, we give you credits, and that credit you use it, and we work with the business places. They will accept that credit as work experience, and at the same time, we give these young people a stipend. So these are some of the transformational things that we want to do in Suffrage for Society.
Thank you for that, Sister M. And now I understand why the UWPs have reported your Facebook page. So, and now it's been taken down because you, you have all these plans that you need to share, and they've literally reported your page so much that it was taken down. But Saint Lucia, we will get it out.
That is all they're good for. That is all they're good for. But let them.
Yes, we
There's a
have other
time limit.
ways.
There's a time limit on that.
Exactly. We have other ways of getting the message out. And St. Lucia, we
There's a
will
time
be
limit.
sharing a lot of these plans with you in the coming weeks. I know Sister Emma has shared them with her constituents, but now to share it with St. Lucia, and I think it's something that we could look forward to. We have another question, so let's take that in.
I love sports. We watch as artificial turfs are placed on the field. The 9 cricketers were placed to play. How will you bring back cricket to Super?
Okay, so that is a question to do with the parliamentary rep replacing the natural grass we had on the field with artificial turf. And in so doing, he has denied the sports persons of Suffrage the opportunity to play sports for a few years, but more than anything else, now the artificial turf is on the field, but the cricketers cannot play cricket. And persons who know Suffrage will know that that was a sport that was well loved in Suffrage. We have the community of Zenon, we have Belfort persons, we have the people of Suffrage town, and now they are denied cricket. And the parliamentary rep, when I was told that he had conversation with the various sports bodies, informed them that he was going to have another cricket field. They've shown an area somewhere near Crestland, which is, I'm informed again, very waterlogged. And he has identified this as the alternative cricket ground. But he has not paid any attention to it. So technically, what you have is a location that might not be conducive to being a cricket ground. So, being the next parliamentary rep, I will have to identify another piece of land to place a cricket ground. But I also have a bigger problem, and the bigger problem is I need to get professional assessment as to the implication of this artificial turf on our young people. These are serious issues because if all what we are reading on the internet is correct, that this contributes to cancer, why should I, as a responsible parliamentary rep, expose the people of the constituency to a cancer-causing agent? And I really believe that instead of reporting my page, the United Workers' Party and the parliamentary rep must tell the young people of Suffrage how he's going to prevent them from getting cancer from playing on this artificial turf.
Yes, and the science is there. We've seen the turf being taken off in a lot of places in the United States. So
in
it's not
advanced countries.
Yes, so it's not just hearsay or propaganda on the internet. This is documented. So I think it's quite irresponsible, as you have said, to that. But as you're talking about that, I'm remembering this mini stadium was where Suffrage Jazz was held. What are the implications for that? And I mean, some of the biggest, we had to rent accommodations months in advance.
Exactly.
What is the
the
fallout of
you
that?
had a multi-purpose.
Yes.
You had a venue that you could do everything with. If you wanted to put your mark on it, you then just had to improve the stands and other things.
Yes, indeed.
I mean,
it's
so
very
right now
tragic.
that we have to really get technical. I don't want to say things but you really need to get technical advice on this facility. And a lot of money was spent on it.
Yes.
And that is another way where you have a leader who, because he wanted to do something, give some money to his friends, have just placed all of St. Lucia, all of our young people, sports persons, in harm's way.
Yes, $32 million, I remember, if I recall,
Yes.
to Lockerbie for four fields. Um,
For
and
fields.
and now they're not even multi-purpose. They're not, you can't use them for so many
It is, you
things.
can't
So
use it in so many things. You have affected the economic activities that used to take place there. You had, in fact, when I was talking to these young people on Friday, they reminded me that they had also football in a serious way, good competition. Persons from all over St. Lucia came in. Our Airbnb made monies, and now everything is flat on its face.
yes, indeed.
Flat on its
Sister
face.
Platate. um,
Platate.
Sister Hippolyte, we're coming down to the end. Any final words for the constituents of Suffrage for Jacques?
Well, the key thing, as we were saying, when you look at some of the issues, we didn't even have time to discuss the Pulse Rep decision to have an investor on the pitons. I mean, when you look at our national symbol, and Honorable Harold Stanislaus being the minister responsible and giving, approving for an investor to build a villa, roads, and technically desecrate our pitons. And then you wonder whether he understands his role as representing the people of Soufrière. And after he did all this damage, then he has a group of people saying, bring back the pride. How? Well, you remove the pride, and it's not you didn't remove it with by placing something that you can go back tomorrow and address. You have, for example, removed certain trees that are hundreds of years old. You have gone in and put a hole in the pitot. And now you want us to bring the pride back.
Indeed.
So I
After
am
you've
telling the
destroyed it.
people of the country, yeah, well, you have to look, and then you wonder. And as I said, it all has to do with our prime minister not setting the right tone at the top, and that permeated. So he had a meeting. We had all the information. The minister having a meeting with Guy Joseph and the investor, and the chairman of the DCA, Clem Bob. We do not know what the discussion was, but whatever was rejected was reversed and allowed the investor to come and desecrate the pitons. And then you're asking the same people where you have desecrated the national symbol to come back and vote for you at the next election.
Indeed. Well, I think
So
with all of that happening,
I'm asking the people of Soufrière Foshajak to look at the scorecard of the St. Lucia Labour Party in the past, look at the scorecard of the United Workers' Party, that is the government in office now, look at the suffering that it has brought, look at how it has brought a shame, disgrace, look at how it has poured tons and tons of debt on our young people and the people of this country, and technically tying our hands behind our backs. Look at how it has given our lands to foreigners. Look at how it has taken all our crown lands and done various things with it. And then make a decision when this time comes, when the Honorable Prime Minister decides to call this election, to make a decision to take this government, take Herod off your back, take Alan off your back, and give yourself a moment with Emma Hippolyte, Philip J. Pierre, and the team of the St. Lucia Labour Party, so that we can sit down with you and work seriously, hear your concerns, see how we can vision ourselves out of the mess that we are in now.
thank you very much, Sister Emma Hippolyte, for joining me on SLP Town Hall Tuesday. Having worked with you before, I know you are putting in the work, and just the little tour that we had last week in Soufrière, I mean, I felt you could feel the pulse of the people. They're ready for that change, and they love you. So I hope that is reflected in the ballot box. So all the best to you and your team, very dedicated team. Hello, Reniata, and Joan and Melanie. Just wishing all of you a very pleasant evening. And St. Lucia, that's it for SLP Town Hall Tuesday. I'm your host, Mondi Lewis, and my guest was Sister Emma Hippolyte, endorsed candidate for Suffrage Forces Jack. Have a good evening.